Despite the infamous Montreal Screwjob taking place nearly 30 years ago, Bret Hart continues to be asked about his match with Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series 1997 for the WWE Championship. Unsurprisingly, the Hitman seems to still hold some grudges about the entire situation, specifically feeling like he should have reacted less conservatively and knocked out everybody involved instead of just Vince McMahon, who he punched backstage after the show. During an interview with the Attitude Era podcast, Hart stated that he feels there was still plenty of other options that could have been explored instead of going through with the screwjob, whilst also naming those who he wishes he had the opportunity to knock out. Hart also reflected on the moment he knocked out McMahon backstage after his match with Michaels, stating that it was one of the most beautiful punches he's ever thrown in his life. Hart would then continue to share that 3 years after the screwjob took place, Jimmy Snuka personally wanted to shake the hand of the person that knocked out McMahon, and stated that many wrestlers had spoken about doing it because of how much talent Vince had screwed over in the past.
No, I think the Montreal Screwjob and all the lies and things that they did to me, I have so much respect for what I did because, it's really hard to explain, but if you were in my shoes after everything that I did for them, for them to do what they did to me, and I always hear this crap that, I think Undertaker said it, if they had to do what they were going to do because there was no other option. Bullshit. I had another 6 weeks left on my contract. There was a million things that could have been done. And it was a case of liars and cheaters and backstabbers and guys that made that moment all happen. Shawn, Triple H, Vince McMahon, and I wish I'd knocked them all off. I have no regrets. It was the single greatest thing I ever did. I had more. I'll put it this way. All I'm going to say is this. Jimmy Snuka came up to me about 3 years after the Montreal Screwjob. And he came up to me and he shook my hand. He goes, I want to shake the hand of the man that knocked out Vince McMahon. And I remember he shook my hand. He goes, everybody talk about doing it. He lied and screwed over so many guys over the years, but everybody talked about it. But the only guy that ever did it was you. That's why he shook my hand. But I think it says more about my real personality is that, I was never a hothead. I wasn't a guy that acted out of, just went off and punched everybody that I wanted to. I was a guy that, if you were in my shoes that day, Vince was calling my bluff. He was going to confront me and he wanted me to back down and take the high road. And it was a gamble that he made. And then he thought he was going to try to get into a little altercation with me. And he wanted it to be like a pull apart. Yeah. And everybody pulls us apart, and then he can sort of act like he stood his ground against me. And those fleeting seconds of having to think about this, like, I can't believe Vince McMahon's actually going to confront me. Yeah. Well, I didn't charge him or anything. We actually walked up to each other and locked up like a wrestling match. And then I knocked him out with one punch, and it was the greatest punch I ever threw. Absolutely beautiful uppercut right between his arms, and I lifted him about a foot off the ground, broke my hand, but it was the sweetest punch I ever threw. I wouldn't change anything about it. And Vince McMahon